Good morning, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful evening. I watched a lot of the RNC speakers, and I was really, really impressed with so many of the everyday Americans who've been affected by crime in our country, and Rachel Morin's brother, and the brother, and I can't. It was the mother of a young boy who lost his life to fentanyl poisoning. All of those things were so emotional. But the one mother, I can't remember her first name, Bram, who came out and was talking about Alvin Bragg and all of the charges that she dropped against the killers of her son, just was such an impassioned speech, and God bless her. And when you think that this is an everyday occurrence, folks. These things are happening across our country on a daily basis, where these corrupt DAs and attorney generals and these corrupt judges and these corrupt attorneys, they're doing things that are actually facilitating turning these dangerous criminals back out onto our streets. They don't care about what's going to happen to you or I. They could care less, because they've been put in office for a reason. They've been put in those positions for a reason. George Soros spent a lot of money, folks, backing these district attorneys up, and we're seeing it play out. George Gascon over in California, he used to be the Mesa, Arizona police chief, and I knew when I met him at one of the award banquets, because Brandon was given an award, I knew when I met him there was something snaky and sneaky about him. And so when he left Mason, I watched as he went over to California and moved up the ladder over there. I always knew he was a sanctuary city type of guy, and soft on crime, especially regarding illegals. I could sense that about him. And this was even before my son died, years before my son died, when I met him. So it's funny how your gut, will tell you things. And early on in my life, I was just like, you'd push that kind of stuff aside. Now I grasp a hold of that, and I listen to it, and I examine it, and I turn it over, and I turn it inside out. And I listen to these gut instincts now, because usually they're right on. It's your inner soul telling you something's not right about a situation or a person. So George Gascon, and then watching Alvin Bragg, and the Southern District of New York, and Fannie Willis, and the Smith guy with the documents case, and the list goes on and on and on. And he may not be a district attorney, but those are the types of people that they've put in these positions to. I got to silence my phone. I apologize for that. To wreak havoc on our communities. And like I said, they don't care about the victims. They don't care about what happens to everyday Americans. They don't. Angel families and angel moms have been speaking out for over a decade. Over a decade. And trying to get people to open their ears and open their eyes and listen about what open borders were going to do to our country, as they had done to our families. And it's come true tenfold, worse than we ever could have imagined. Of course, you don't ever imagine a president like Biden and a treasonous Secretary of Department of Homeland Security like Mayorkas. You don't picture them in your mind when you're looking into the future. You don't picture somebody who's in those positions within the United States and watch them do the damage that they're doing. You don't expect that as Americans that they're going to be doing this sort of thing to their own country, to their own fellow citizens. But they don't care. They have no soul. They have no conscience. And again, I'm going to go back to the fact that I think there's a lot of blackmail on these elected officials. And it's not going to be pretty when this stuff comes out. There's 850,000 missing unaccompanied minor children who have crossed the border since Biden's been in charge. And do you hear the Democrats screaming from the mountaintops the way they did when Trump was president? And there was 4,500 of them that were being held. They were accounted for. They weren't missing. They were accounted for and being held in detention centers. And that's because they came across either by themselves with a group of people or with individuals who claim they were their parents. But when the Trump administration started doing DNA testing, they found out these children didn't belong to the people that they came over the border with. It was child trafficking. And back in the Biden or the Trump administration, some of those kids were being recycled. And so they'd be sent back to Mexico and given to another single man to hold their hand and walk across the border, and recycle back to Mexico and given to another single man to come to the border. That's how they were playing the game in the system under the Trump administration. And then he got wise to that. And so he started taking these children and doing the DNA testing, because there was a lot of Border Patrol agents who were suspicious that these kids don't belong to these men who were bringing them over. It just seems so weird. So many men crossing the border with young little girls and boys. It's like, why would your wives or girlfriends or family allow you to make this long trek with a 1 or 2 year old child, 3-year-old child? What woman in her right mind would allow that to happen? So that started, piquing the interest of the Border Patrol agents, and the questions were arising. And of course, Trump jumped right on top of it. So there was 4,500 approximately unaccompanied minors in holding facilities under the Trump administration that the Democrats were losing their minds over. Well, as I looked into it and researched and got answers and made phone calls, these were unaccompanied minors that were taken from people who weren't their parents or family at the borders. And when they would get a hold of their family in their home country, the mother, the father, the aunt, uncle, the grandmother, whoever, the family member, they would say, we don't want the child back. I'm sure they sold the child, but we don't want our child back. But the underlying pretense there was, if Biden gets elected, he's going to let us come and join our children or our grandchildren there in the United States. We need to keep them there. That's why we had about 4,500 unaccompanied minors being held. DHS and they started pushing that, and they got some of those kids back to their families. But we're talking about 850,000 missing children, folks. Excuse me. It's 85,000. I'm sorry. 85,000 missing children under the Biden administration. Where is the Democratic outrage? Where's the outrage from anybody? Even Republicans. Where's the outrage from everyday Americans? Where are these children? And then you have these whistleblowers come forward and testify before Congress from HHS, saying they're watching these children being released. Some of them are 16-year-old girls that these creepy men are coming in to get, who claim that they're their uncle or a family member. But the woman was saying that they're touching these girls inappropriately to be their uncle. The girls are pulling away from them. Yet the Biden administration, Mayorkas, Health and Human Services, they're all in on this together, folks. Things aren't happening under this administration without the okay. And if it's not Biden, then whoever the puppet master is okaying all of this despicable behavior, releasing these children. And these whistleblowers are coming forward and saying, where this 16-year-old girl went, I checked out the address. It's a vacant lot. There isn't even a home on it. There's not a mobile home on it. Nobody's living there. Nobody's been on that property for decades, according to the neighbors. And then they release 7, 8, 10, 12 more to that same address. This is how insanely stupid the Biden administration is, because this is all going to catch up with them, folks. And this is why they're so afraid of a Trump administration and a Trump presidency. First of all, he was already onto the fact that there was child trafficking going on. And now, because there's so many patriotic American men who are doing something about it and researching it and going after these people, they are petrified of a Trump administration. This stuff's all going to be uncovered. This stuff's going to be found out. Where did these 85,000 children go? Where are they? Who has them? Are they still alive? It's disgusting. And to think about the blackmail angle of this all and how many politicians and elites are involved in pedophilia. And is this where these children are going? For the pleasure of these elites and these political figures? And is that why nobody will do anything about anything? Because everybody's got information on each other and they're going to scream it to the biggest media bidder? That's more important than these children's lives? An open border and allowing terrorists to come into our country is more important than innocent American lives? Allowing the cartel to get rich off of their drug business? The fentanyl poisoning of American citizens, that's more important to allow them to continue to get rich than an innocent American child who gets inadvertently poisoned by fentanyl because he accepted some sort of an Adderall pill or somebody from a friend that was laced with fentanyl. Yeah, where is the new Epstein Island at? You're right, Mel. There is something weird going on, and people are tuned into this sort of thing. You get a sense that something's not right in the world. Something's not right in our country. Too many weirdos have been able to go unchecked for too long. It's just disgusting. But so you've got all this blackmail going on. You've got all these people who have information on everybody. You watch it happen. I'm watching it play out here in politics in Arizona, in local politics. People are so desperate for power and so desperate to make money that they know once they get into an office that they're going to be able to get money from all these other sources because they're going to be doing the bidding of the lobbyists and the groups who have the money. I see it playing out, and they're digging up stuff from years ago. Years and years and years ago, decades ago sometimes on some people. Digging up things about bad checks that were written that didn't even have to do with the person who's running for candidate. Digging up information about a comment somebody said, 22 years ago. Bringing up a Halloween costume that I wore 14 years ago at a Halloween party. It's like that's all they have on me. They can't go ahead and dig. Do all the digging you want. Because I have been screened and passed by Secret Service 10, 12, 20 times. I've passed background checks at the Mesa Police Department to work at the Mesa Police Department as a volunteer. I've passed lie detector tests with the Mesa Police Department. Go ahead. Go dig on me. You're not going to find nothing other than a Halloween costume picture from me 14 years ago. That's it, folks. Oh. And the retweet I did about the Federal Reserve and what they've done to destroy our country. That one that they interpreted as she's an anti-Semitic. This is how disgusting people are when they start doing research to try and find dirt on you. Now, this dirt that they find on people like me, a Halloween costume and a retweet that turns your life upside down. Listen, folks, when they're on to somebody like me, you know that they're hell-bent on not having me get into office. Why? Because I am unbreakable. They're not going to be able to con me. They're not going to be able to bribe me. And they know this, and they don't want anything to do with me. They don't want me down at the Capitol here in Arizona. They're doing this to a lot of great patriotic candidates here in Arizona. And look, there's some lobbyists that are good. And as a candidate and as a politician and as a legislator, you don't know everything. And so you need to have these lobbyists come in who represent these certain companies and legislation that they may want to go through. You need to hear them out. You need to hear their side of the story, but you also need to hear the flip side of the story. And then you need to do independent research and find out what's going to be the best for the people of Arizona, the majority of Arizonans. That's why in this situation, you know, you've got legislators who listen to these teeny tiny small fractions of like let's just say the trans community. They scream the loudest, and they get a hold of some of these politicians, and of course they're going to make some statement, you know, so and so's a bigot, so and so's a transphobe, and they threaten them with this sort of thing. And guess what, folks? As Americans, as patriotic Americans, we need to stop being afraid of these slobs who think they're going to run our country and run over patriotic Americans. We can't be afraid of the false slander that they want to throw at us. And I'm not just talking about me running for office. I'm talking about you when you're out on the streets or talking somewhere or you know, making a speech somewhere or having a conversation. Don't let these people run you over with their favorite little words. You're a racist. You're a violent racist. You're an anti-Semitic. You're a transphobe. You're a xenophobe. You're, you know, come on, let's just make up names now to call people to try and shame them into shutting up. We have to stop allowing this to happen here. But as a legislator, you can't just go in there. First of all, you have to make sure that the bill you're looking at is constitutional. Not only the federal constitution, but your state constitution. And you have to make sure that the legislation that you're looking at, that the bill that you're looking at is going to benefit the majority of Arizonans or the majority of Americans if you're in Congress. That it's not just something that's going to benefit 1% of the population of the state of Arizona because the trans community has come in and beat you up and protest outside your door. Can't do it. Sorry. Move along. That is not in the best interest of the people of this country or of your individual states if you're a legislator. We have to be strong. This is a time to stand up to this tyranny, to these bullies. And it makes me sick, you know, since this assassination attempt, listening to the left media. Like conservatives are the problem, like we're the domestic terrorists. Are you kidding me? I just want to show you something because, and I put this up last night, and I said, let me introduce you. Hold on a second. Shoot, I'll have to. Let me see. I'll start it over. I'm going to share this with you. Hold on. It's going to have my whole Facebook thing up there, but bear with me. I'm sorry. Are you seeing it? You're not. Oh, I thought I would be able to play this for you. Anyway, it's okay, here it goes. So I don't know if it was playing. I was watching the screen. I don't know if you could hear what was happening, but um, those were all celebrities that that were screaming all of that stuff. I hope you could hear it. And they are all Democrats. And they're trying to say that, conservatives need to bring down the rhetoric. The things they've been saying, they're domestic terrorists. You know, go look in the mirror, man. The liberal media, I was so thrilled that Morning Joe was taken off the air on Monday, day before yesterday, because they were so afraid of the evil, twisted, disgusting, unhinged, uninformed, idiotic guests that they would have on there. They say the most vile things their guests do. And of course, Morning Joe and his wife, Micah, I don't even know what planet they're from. And I can't even imagine their home life. But anyway, um, they were so afraid of what their guests would say after that assassination attempt that they told them that they were going to have a steady stream of coverage of the assassination attempt. So they didn't go in. Well, MSNBC changed their mind, and I think they just didn't want them to be on. And they had some other programming fill in for them. And they came back yesterday, and I guess Joe Scarborough was just so heated and threatening to quit. And it's like, quit, man. Nobody needs to hear your garbage. And you, Joe Scarborough, and your wife, your disgusting wife, Micah, are the reason why so many unhinged Democrats do the sort of things that kid did on Saturday, attempting to kill the president, the future president of the United States. All you Democratic, um, weirdos who put these things out on Instagram and TikTok, screaming in your car and doing all your meltdown, stupid things. You all need help. Your mental issues, honestly. You need help. And you're the ones who are causing the unrest and the divide in this country. And actually, conservatives laugh their butts off at you because you don't even have a grip on reality. You need help. We pray for you to get help. You do not have a grip on reality. And that's a sad thing. So to call conservatives domestic terrorists, listen, and I know you've heard this a million times, but I just want to take one of these people who are saying this sort of thing, especially on the airwaves, where so many indoctrinated Democrats and liberals continue to listen to them on a daily basis, but we weren't the ones who rioted. We could have been out rioting. We could have been out just having revenge for the audacity of them trying to kill our presidential candidate. That's not what conservatives do. What is the point of going into your country or into your communities and burning them down or killing people or breaking into a store and stealing things, stealing the inventory, ruining a small business owner? What is the point? It harms your own communities. But the liberal fractions of this world and the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter and all of these ridiculous offshoots of the evil, demonic Democratic Party, they're too dumb to even realize what they're doing is going to affect them. They're not going to have a Walgreens or a Target in their community anymore. But it's affecting all their innocent neighbors and the other innocent people in their communities, because now they're going to have to drive 30 miles to get to a Target. And these people don't care. They don't care. And a lot of these people are bussed into these neighborhoods to do this sort of damage. They don't even live there. So it doesn't matter to them what happens to these communities. But this is what liberals do. This is what the opposite of conservatives do. Burn down communities, riot, deface our historical statues, deny the history that's happened in our country. Push for transgenderism and allowing a student, Governor Newsom has now just passed that schools, it's a law, schools cannot tell the parents that their child is wanting to be a different gender. Since when has a school or the governor of California become the parent of our children? They want control of our children because they are the generation that they want growing up hating America and hating patriots and hating patriotism. And you see what's happening in England and you see what's happening in France. And you see these radical Muslims speaking out on the streets in England and in France. One guy, I think it was in France, and he was saying, we have to get rid of Western civilization. There's too much freedom. The alcohol kills people. These radical men want to suppress women and control everything. And if you look at them the wrong way, they'll behead you. And I was just watching a video of a Muslim, some guy they're not priests, but whatever they are. And he was being asked, well, doesn't Islam mean peace? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's not the interpretation of Islam. And he talks about jihad and Sharia. Islam is Sharia law, folks. And that's what's going to be taking over Europe. They've accomplished it. I mean, I was in England in 2001 with my mother. Came off of a red eye. We settled in the apartment, went to a pub to get fish and chips. And there was a huge Muslim protest going by the pub. And I was like, wait, aren't we in England? It was weird. I didn't even realize that there was that many Muslims in England in 2001. So they've given up. They've rolled over. And that's the difference, folks, between England and us. And that's why our founding fathers left England and came here, because they had guts and they had backbone. And guess what? That's what we are. We are the descendants of our founding fathers. And we have the determination and the guts and the backbone to stand up to the invaders, to the traitors, and to the treasonous pigs like Mayorkas for allowing this invasion to happen in our country. Listen, it's going to be a big problem. 12 million people that he has let in, it's going to be a big problem for the Trump administration. But I have faith in him. And I have faith in Tom Homan that they will get back at their jobs and do what they need to do. These people are unfindable. A lot of them. I mean, you've got the easy pickings at the shelters, Randall Island in New York and all the hotels in New York. Easy pickings. You can go pick them up and deport them. But a lot of them who have dispersed and taken their ankle monitoring off, or, like the Mayorkas made a decision that they don't have to check in anymore in person with a judge, with an asylum clerk. They can just make a phone call. They could be anywhere. They're not going to be cell phone pinging to find out where these people are living. They could go to a payphone anyway and make a phone call. Yeah, I'm still here in the United States. No, I haven't committed any crimes. Ha ha. Yeah, I'm still living off the taxpayers. Yeah, okay. 5 years is my court date. All right, see you then. Bye. That's what they have to do now. Isn't that wonderful? Knowing that these people can just cross our border and roam through our country and just do what the hell they want. I mean, think about going and crossing the border into Germany, not being able to speak the language, and just expecting everybody in Germany to work and put into a fund to provide a free hotel for you and three meals a day given to you. And your room is cleaned by their room service in the hotel that they've put into a shelter. And then they end up giving you a Visa card with $2,000 on it a month so that you can buy the necessary toiletries that you need. No other country's going to do that. Of course, they did over there in France and Germany and England with all the Middle Eastern refugees who invaded Europe a few years ago. So, but I'm just saying, I never would think that. I never would expect that. I would never just start walking and go to another country and expect to be taken care of. And the sad reality is, because I have a different research means, and look, I don't expect everybody who listens to this podcast to have the time to do the research that I do. And, I thank God every day for the military wife, that friend who I have. I've never met her, but she does a ton of research for me and gets me all of these obscure articles. And there's a huge long article about this Honduras guy laughing. He's here in America and working and laughing, saying the Americans are so stupid because the only reason these people are coming from Central America is to send money home, because it's like they're having a, let's do better than the Joneses across the street kind of a situation in Honduras, because some of them had family members who were up here in the United States working and sending money home, and they were able to build a nice big home. And so now the neighbors are like, the Smiths were like, we can't let the Joneses do that. So then they send somebody from their family up to the United States. And so there's that sort of a thing going on in Honduras right now. And they were showing pictures of some of these houses that are being built. It's crazy. That's the American dream for the Hondurans and the El Salvadorans, and they come up here, make money most of the time tax-free, send it home to their family. Once the house is built and everything's settled, all right, come on home. House is built. We're living like kings and queens, and we have our farm up and running. Come home. That's what we're providing for the world. They need a better life. They come here, take our money, take it out of our economy, send it home to their families. It's going to be over $451 billion that's going to be leaving our economy in remittances in 2024. And that's remittances of the money that these illegals send home to their families. And how many American friends and family do you know who have been searching for a job for a while? I know lots of people, Americans, who have been applying and searching for a job. You can't go to any fast food restaurant here, drive-through fast food restaurant here in my immediate area without it being illegals working. Can barely talk English. You can barely make your order. Not the friendly hey, whatever, when you pick up your food at the window. Not that I do that very often anymore, because I was super duper busy and my granddaughter was coming over, and I said, I'm going to drive through Jack in the Box, get us dinner. 2 hamburger dinners at Jack in the Box was $30 with the fries and the drink. And I told the guy when I went up to pay, I'm like, I never dreamed in my life that I'd be paying $30 at Jack in the Box for 2 dinners. And he's like, it's crazy, isn't it? The cost of all these products has gone up too, because the Biden administration has allowed these illegals to come in, and all the DAs and everything have allowed criminals to get off scot-free. So they are stealing from the retailers, and that is driving the cost up, because they're passing along their losses to us, folks. Their insurance companies aren't going to pay for all those losses. That's why you can go into a store one week and the next week something's gone up $2 retail wise, clothes and those type of things, because they're passing on the cost to us, their losses onto us. And we as taxpayers are supporting these illegals to even be living here. And then they're stealing from the retailers, who are passing the costs onto the taxpayers. And then the supply and demand for the food in this country is raising the prices of food to these restaurants. And so they have to pass along that cost to us. You can't just import 12 million people into a country and expect for there not to be an economic hit. And it's not an economic advantage having these people here, like so many of the Democratic politicians want to claim it is. It's not an advantage, folks. And the advantage in the Democrat mind is slavery. Bring these people in and they'll work for cheaper than Americans will work. Basically, it's modern day slavery, which the Democrats have always supported, right? Slavery, human trafficking, sex trafficking. And I don't know if any of you saw, but there was a CNN reporter, I think, at the RNC, and this guy kept going back and forth behind her, and he had his jacket open. And he finally stopped long enough on one side where I could see it, and he said, "Where's the Jeffrey Epstein list?" is what his shirt said. And it just cracked me up, because I thought that was so hilarious to photobomb that CNN journalist and have that on there. Because you get down to the nitty gritty, the Jeffrey Epstein files. I don't know what they've threatened Giselle with, to where she's kept her mouth shut all these years. And maybe she just kept her mouth shut to stay alive. But I can't believe she hasn't been on Hillary's hit list by now. Anyway, I'm going to share something with you. I love this guy, and he does have I think this is it. No, this is it. He does have some bad words. No, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Okay, watch.
Are better than us. By the way, to me, kale tastes like I'd rather.
I want to bring that back up again, because it's hilarious, and that was way past halfway through it. So let me find it and bring it back up. It's on Instagram, so I can't stop the video. I'm sorry. Trying to find it and trying to yap. I have to do this fast. Ugh.
Deeply weird, narcissistically woke people who hate George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Zeus, and Mr. Potato Head, who hyperventilate on their yoga mats if you use the wrong pronoun, who think kids should be able to change their gender at recess, who carry around Ziploc bags of kale to give them energy, and who think they are better than us. By the way, to me, kale tastes like I'd rather be fat.
He is a bright spot in my night. And I found that video last night and I laughed and it was like a good feeling because I had been so upset and so irritated by so much of what's in the news right now that I just had to share that with you guys because I thought it was pretty cool. Now this was sent to me. I want to share this with you. This is the assassination attempt. And this is another look at things. And I think this is pretty interesting. I think you'll find it interesting.
See something that said, take a look what happened. See something that said, take a look what happened. What happened? Take a look what happened.
I can't do it.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look what happened.
What you know about rolling down when your brain goes numb, you can call a mental freeze when these people.
They're saying that there was a second shooter because a line of fire where those bullets were coming from. You know, I don't think we're ever going to know. The first shot hit two bystanders and the railing. So those were the two people, I believe, that were injured. It did not come from the top of the American Glass building because of the angle. So now they're saying they have evidence of a second shooter. This is kind of frightening. And folks, I don't think we're ever going to really know what happened. I know I'm jumping all over the place today, but I don't think we're really going to know what really happened. First of all, I don't think the FBI should be involved in investigating this. I don't trust them. Second of all, I don't think the Secret Service should be involved in investigating this because they're the main reason why this fiasco happened. And thirdly, I think Mayorkas needs to step the hell out of the way, even though Department of Homeland Security oversees Social Security. I think we need to have an independent investigation in this, something that the American people can feel confident in. We already have Mayorkas stepping in. Congress has put the request in for Cheatham, the woman who's in charge of Secret Service, to come and testify at Congress. And Mayorkas has already stepped in and said, no, wait, hold on. He wants to be in charge of directing all of that. So he's already going to be interfering in things. Because like I said, he is in charge of Secret Service. And so, you know, he's going to have some answers. He's going to have to answer to something too. But this woman, for her to be saying, we didn't have anybody on that building because of the slope of the building. And then you've got pictures of the other building that the snipers were on that were closer to Trump. That's a bigger slope. And then you show the slope of the roof of the White House and how Secret Service are up there. It's like, do you really think Americans are this stupid? I just think these alphabet agencies have gotten away with thinking that we can say whatever we want to the American people and they're going to believe us. Maybe in the past we did. You know, and I think the buildup over the last 4, 5, 6 years after reading The Killing of Uncle Sam, the buildup of knowing. You know, I grew up thinking we live in the greatest country. The FBI is so good. The CIA, the Kremlin, you know, and they're equivalent to the FBI and the CIA. They're so corrupt. And realizing that, folks, we live in a country that is just as corrupt as every other country. You know, you've got the CIA, who isn't even a federally funded organization. They went into Afghanistan. They've done this to many countries, but they went into Afghanistan and talked to all those farmers growing all those beautiful crops to start growing poppy. And they would come and get the drugs and they would sell it to fund the CIA. They've gone into many, many countries, Guatemala being one of them, and overthrew the president, and I think it was in the 60s, that had gone in there and was going to give all the land back to the indigenous people. But you had a fruit and nut company based here out of the United States, and I think they grew coffee too. And they were all up in arms at the land they were doing all of this on, and using the indigenous people as their slaves was going to be taken away from them. And so they came up and testified in Congress. And of course, the CIA got involved and they got rid of that president in Guatemala. That's why a lot of those people feel like America owes us a life. You ripped away our life from us. Americans don't understand, and the everyday Americans don't understand. You don't do research and read about history to know the terrible things that the CIA has done, the cover-ups that they're involved in. Human life means nothing to them. Honestly. And yeah, you're right, Paul. She worked for Pepsi. And she knew diddly squat about law enforcement, the head of the Secret Service. You come from Pepsi Cola as head of security at a beverage and food company to come and be the head of Secret Service, who's in charge of the security of the President of the United States, heads of states who come in here. That's what she gets promoted to. This is what DEI hiring is all about, folks. Hiring idiots who don't even know, what they're doing. But because she's female, and God knows whatever else was in her background, that raised her up on the DEI hiring scheme. I don't want our country run like this. I don't want our airline industry using DEI and hiring these people to go into these factories and build planes, and they don't even know what the hell they're doing. And that's why we have doors falling off planes and wheels falling off planes and pilots who jump out of the back of planes. I'm just sick of what's happening in our country. And this, folks, is why we need Trump back in there. He knows all of this. He sees all of this. He's going to stop this nonsense. For this ESG, for these organizations to come in and say to the companies and corporations, we're going to grade you on this ESG grading system that we have. And it's all going to depend on how diverse and how inclusive and how and the equity that you provide for your employees. And your score is going to go up higher the more diverse hires that you do. Diverse, aka unknowledgeable, inexperienced, really shouldn't be in the job. Those types of hires. Your score is going to go up if you hire more of them. Where has hard work and determination and people who've studied and gone into an apprenticeship to learn a skill and try to move up that way, gone to trade school, and then they came out with all of this experience and this knowledge, but their next door neighbor who happens to be has a different skin color, or who's been living in a low-income family, well, they're going to give the job to him. What? He's not even experienced. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Well, it's because he's from a low-income family and he has a different color of skin than you do. That's why we're hiring him. Okay, this goes completely against the American dream and what you do to get ahead in the world and make a beautiful life for yourself and pull yourself up out of nowhere. You know, look at J.D. Vance. They've got that movie out of him, Hillbilly Elegy, and the life he lived and where he is now. Folks, he's a vice presidential candidate. And he came from extreme poverty, from a mother who was a drug addict who abandoned him all the time. You can have faith in yourself and you can do better. And there's a lot more options, you know, for kids to be able to go with a lot of these ESA vouchers that you can go to trade schools and private schools and charter schools and get the education that you need. And parents need to stand up and start providing that for their children. Parents need to have more of an interest. What is your child going to college for? A degree in gender studies? Are you stupid? Like, are you funding that degree? Are you paying that college for that kid of yours to go get a gender studies degree? Are you serious? Some of this crap needs to be put back on these kids' parents who've been uninvolved and they don't care about them. These kids have been left on their own. And guess what? They get to a college and they've got these college professors who want to just indoctrinate them and they act like they care so much. And then these other kids who are in their college class who've been left to their own making all through high school because both of their parents had to work to make a go of it. And so, or they both want to work and not be home with the kids. And so now you've got more of those kids in the same college classroom. And so they all bunch together and become this ragtag group of bullies. That's basically what's happening. That's what Antifa is. Bunch of kids who never had a home life, weren't shown love. They don't know their self-worth. They enjoy getting off on harming people and just being bullies and getting up into people's faces and screaming and yelling. We have to stop this. This is what's tearing down our country. I do this once in a while when I'm in the grocery store or out somewhere. I'll walk along, and I usually don't, you know, the common thing for all of us is not to have eye contact with people, right? But try this next time you're at the grocery store. I'll walk along and I'll be staring at people who are coming towards me. And of course, they're doing the avoiding the eye contact, but I'll smile. And when they finally have eye contact with me, a lot of times they'll do this. Look away real quick because they don't know what to do with somebody who's smiling at them. And then some of them, you know, will see me smile and then look at me and smile and say, "How are you?" And I'll be like, "Great, how are you doing?" It's amazing what a smile and a kind word can do. And we really need to try and promote that. That's my promise to myself when I'm out like that, to try and be a little kinder, a little more understanding when I'm driving somewhere and somebody's driving really slow and it's irritating. I try and take a deep breath and think, okay, maybe that's an elderly person who's driving the car, or maybe they've got something that they're taking, some food that they're taking to their grandmother, and it's going to spill in the front seat if they turn too sharply. I try and calm myself down like that and bring some peace. Because we're all very quickly triggered to be angered in this world, right? There's so much going on that's wrong in this world. I am a little past my time. I got to get off. We will be back tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you all. And Bella says goodbye.